Hello and welcome to this rather random News Burst Live. Yeah, that's right. News Burst Live unboxing of these beautiful retro Storm Shadow, classified Storm Shadow, and retro classified Zartan. I could have picked those up better, couldn't I? Yes, courtesy of the good folks at In Demand Toys. Massive shout out to Nick, Mass, and the whole team. As the phone rings in the background, just ignore that. That'll go to answer phone. It's fine. Perfect timing. Anyway, yes, so I'm going to be doing an unboxing on these two beauties today. It's been so long in coming. I've had these for ages. I've had these with the Cover Girl, Falcon, Barbecue, Crimson Bat Wave. Was there another one in that wave? There was, wasn't there? Outback. How did I forget Outback? So yeah, I've had them for a little while now. Oh, thank you, Tac Tac. Says that discussion with Brian Flynn was great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Yeah, if you haven't seen it already, go over to the channel. You're already on it technically, and go and watch. Well, after this one, obviously, but go and watch the Super 7 interview I did with Brian Flynn. I posted that yesterday. We did that a couple of days ago. Really managed to kind of kick that out at high speed. Got another massive interview coming up with Hasbro as well, with Lenny and Emily on Monday. That will probably be posted on Tuesday or Wednesday, though, based on the turnaround time that it takes me to edit this stuff. Anyway, today, no worries about editing today, guys. No, because we are going to bust into these two beauties. Retro classified Storm Shadow and retro classified Zartan. I've got some other figures down here for comparison. I've got Snake Eyes with me. I've got a couple of Storm Shadows, and I believe a couple of Zartans as well. So we'll do a few little comparisons and what have you. So let me know if you're watching in the comments, of course, and if you've got any questions, bash them in. But I suppose we better get stuck into the actual unboxing, yeah? Yeah, let's do it. Right then, I've removed my name from the screen. If you're wondering why I do the transition at that point, we'll start with... Let's start with Storm Shadow. Let's start with Storm Shadow because he's teed up first on all of the things for some reason. I've got a trusty scalpel today to remove this particular bubble. I like to do it carefully with the carded stuff, so that I can kind of, because I kind of regret as a kid though. I've got all my old file cards. I cut them off the card, kept all the file cards, so I have all of my, and there's like a stack. It's massive. I love it. It's one of my favorite things that I'm so happy I kept. I kept most of the vehicle boxes as well, believe it or not, in full. They're either kind of flattened down to de-taped and flattened down, or they're still in their box shape. I think the tactical battle platform, the transportable tactical battle platform, and the mobile command center are the boxes I keep all the other boxes inside, which is hilarious, and they're under my bed back in the UK. I've got this really cool like storage bed. It's well dope. Anyway, enough of that. But I was really kind of upset that I didn't just keep the whole card back, because the art's gorgeous, man. I love the artwork on the vintage stuff. So I've always been a little bit upset that I didn't. I wasn't like I was careful, but I wasn't that careful. Like there's another level to go up, and despite using a scalpel here today, that has not been a very successful endeavor, I will add. I could have done that a lot better, but it's not that important, is it? Slightly different with the kind of modern stuff. Like you can get away with it because you know that it's never going to be that rare, or at least you hope not. Right, so still got the card and bubble intact. See, not too bad. Could have done better though. The cut isn't clean, as you can see. It's not like super clean. Not super clean. It's not bad though. It's not bad. I should have looked at the packaging first, really, shouldn't I, before opening it up? I suppose that we can do that now that it's actually free. Of course, we've got Storm Shadow on there, the artwork. Now, this is slightly rejigged artwork from I imagine the 25th, because they usually are on the 25th that they've done the changes. And you can see the changes on Storm Shadow there as well. Like you've got the details on the mask. You've got the details. You've even got the chest cut on there, which is bonkers. we did joke about that. What is actually funny about where the chest cut is it's off center as well. So it looks like he's twisted round quite dramatically. They really could have done a better job on the chest cut there, and not even maybe not have it because it's not actually part of his costume. It's just the friggin' cut in his articulation. They've got the details on the thighs as well, which are actually on there very, very faintly. And they've done like knee pads, even though they're not technically knee pads. It's just the way the articulation cuts. So again, I did find that a very strange decision on the artwork to do that. And it's definitely very blatant on that chest cut, isn't it? Very blatant indeed. And if we flip it around, we've got the Storm Shadow file card, the multilingual file card with what looks to be Spanish, maybe Dutch, and yeah, I don't know some of the other ones. Anyway, it's not important. Oh, maybe French. Yeah, French, possibly German. Yes, German. Yeah, so it's French, German, Spanish, and I'm guessing I don't know the last one. Anyway, there it is. I should just run it through Translate, shouldn't I? And you've got the cross sell there: Gung Ho, Destro, Storm Shadow, and Zartan. I've already bust into Gung Ho and Destro in the past. I'm not sure if I did videos for those, but we've got the Legal Gumph, which nobody cares about, but I'm going to show you anyway. Legal Gumph, no one cares. Well, I don't know if they should. Who cares really? We've got the Cobra, the shiny gloss Cobra battle stand with the little spot to put the name on if you want to, I guess. I don't know really how to do that. And we've got this little separate plastic piece that holds this first accessory, which is his quiver and sword sheaths combined. And it's got that little peg on the quiver there. You can see just above the Arashikage logo, which is where the bow kind of connects to. And you can see that the arrows in there are fixed, but there is a little space to put some more, to put one more in actual fact, which we've got here. So here he is in his little bubble plastic scenario. Oh, so I was forgetting the fact that people are actually commenting. Good morning, Future Fortress. Hello, Outback Stew. Hello, Grant Mounier, Ruby Time Prime. Of course, I've already said hello to Tac Tac, and thank you very much for that very nice compliment earlier, Tac Tac. Grant says, hello, Chris. How are you, good sir? I see you've gotten your classified retros, Storm Shadow and Zartan. Yeah, some time ago, Grant. I got these before I started doing the unboxings for the last wave of figures. I just haven't had a chance to do it. Got a lot to come as well, actually, guys. So while I've got you here, and I've just obviously spoken about the Super 7 interview I did with Brian yesterday, or a couple of days ago, but posted it yesterday. We've also got a Hasbro one with Lenny and Emily on Monday. We'll be doing lots of classified chat, I'd imagine. I don't like the way that the bow is housed in this. I'll show you first. So the plastic covers right over the side, so you have to kind of bend it to get it out. I'm not a fan of that because it's like it's covered on both ends, and you can't really slide it out the side either because it's stopped on that side. Yeah, not a fan of how that's packaged, honestly, because then you have to kind of bend it. Now, I will say it is very flexible. This one is much more flexible, I believe, than the original, which I have. Yeah, he's dropped his arrow. But yeah, I think it is more flexible. I mean, this one it's flexible, but it's nowhere near as bendy as this bad boy. And obviously I've got upside down. But so there's the red handle on this one, and there's a white handle on the new one. So we'll do some comparisons a little bit later on when we get all geared up. Now, as well as the bow, which I'll give you a nice close-up here of if you've never seen this one before, the compound bow has the detailing, like some really nice detailing. I do like this. It's very cool. The handle's really cool. I love the kind of split where the bow doesn't actually meet in the middle here. Kind of very Sunbow laser-esque there. But I do know that you know, compound bows do actually are designed like that as well. And obviously you've got the multiple kind of like the wire here as well, which is very cool. I do like the design on the compound bow. Absolutely. We've got his two swords, Madame Two Swords. You'll only understand that if you know what Madame Two Swords is. And then you've got the kind of like the snake motif handles, which are pretty dope as well, aren't they? I do like that. Get like a nice view of those with my fat hand in the background. Old fat hand. Obviously, one is shorter than the other, not hands, the swords. So that's pretty cool. And they obviously slot into the corresponding sheaths, like so. Badoink! There you go. All completed it, mate. Completed it, mate. In actual fact, we haven't actually completed it because we've got an arrow here. Now this arrow, I'll just get the comparison arrow out. If I can find it, he says. Yes, I can find it. It was in the bag at the bottom. So this is the original. It's like an all black with the red tail feathers, the flights, I believe they're called, which is nice. And this is the Nern. That's the new one in Norfolk. Black shaft, silver tip, silver back end. I don't know what the back end tip is called. And the kind of silver flight. I say silver, it's white, isn't it? It's white flights and silver tips. And then, of course, you've got, like I said, there's the comparison one. Red versus white. Like it. Which one do you prefer? I quite like the nice fresh look of the silver and white. But I'm a fan of the original as well. Very cool. So, do I have... Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Why have I got that in here? This doesn't go with Storm Shadow. It must go with Snake Eyes, right? Why have I got two of them though? That's weird. Oh, maybe I use one for Zartan. Ignore me. I'm just talking out loud. Good for radio. Great, innit? We also have extra hands. We've got his. We've got a throw in a Ninja Star hand, which is pretty cool. And we've got a punchy fist, a fisty punch. A nice detail on the hands, though. Look at the veins on there. Get more detailed than my hands. Well, good. Okay, and now we've got the figure that, like anyone, this is what really people care about. This is what people care about. And straight out of the box, feels good. Yeah, exactly as you'd expect from a classified figure. Some nice stiffness in the knees, but they move, but everywhere else, yeah, it's actually quite nicely weighted. Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice feel. Okay, Storm Shadow. Let's have a quick look at the eyes. I want to see them in real life. They don't look like they look like they're upside down, don't they? It's quite funny. I wonder if they are upside down. I'm going to look at the other Storm Shadow to see if that's the case. The other Storm Shadow has much better decoed eyes. I don't think they are upside down. I just don't think they've been applied as well. So let's do an eye comparison. Put your bow down, for goodness sake, Storm Shadow, and just do what you're told. Head to head. As you can see there, yeah, the one on the kind of new one is much brighter white as well. It's not as a kind of an off-white kind of color. Yeah, it's definitely a difference in the white there. This is definitely brighter, and this is definitely more off-white. But I'd much prefer the deco on the eyes here. Even the eyebrows are kind of in a better kind of position than the retro one. That's definitely the case, I think. Yeah, the kind of there's more of a mean look, like, you know, more of like an angrier angle of eyebrow on the older Storm Shadow. But anyway, just interesting to point out there. Definitely want to point that one out. I definitely prefer the eye deco and application on the old Storm Shadow. There's definitely a slight... Yes, they're a little bit far apart, aren't they? It looks a little bit odd, I think, personally. But anyway, minor discrepancy. In terms of the skin tone, I think it's very close, but there is a very, very slight difference. It actually comes across clearer on the camera, and you can see the elbows a different color on the new figure. Again, that's been a problem they've had for a lot of figures, isn't it? You can see it's clearly different than the rest of the arm, and on this one it's smooth, like it's it's the same color all the way across. So again, another little minor discrepancy. All paint apps at the moment on eyes and on the elbows. Of course, with this old Storm Shadow, you have a different kind of gauntlet design, and you have bare hands, of course, on the new one. But yeah, the old one had the kind of gauntlets kind of on the wrapping, and this one is just the wrapping on its own. So that's definitely brand new, obviously, for that particular figure. In terms of the body, again, it's just a deco, I think. Yeah, there's no other change. So if you look at the straps on the feet, on the legs, sorry, on the lower legs, you can see that this is the new one here with the kind of tanner, and this is the old one with the kind of grey. So this is the new that we're looking at today with the tan to match the straps on the arms. And yeah, that's pretty much what you get in deco comparison-wise. Actually, look, one more actual element. The original has the black bottoms on the shoes, and these just go for all white for the shoes. So there's that kind of deco change up as well. So that is effectively it, isn't it, really, for Storm Shadow? This is why I'm doing Storm Shadow and Zartan together, because I feel like I can probably squeeze them both out in a short amount of time. I'm just putting all of his gear on and completing his backpack with the arrow there. So he now has his final arrow in the quiver, in the hole. The bow is connected to the backpack. Now, on my original Storm Shadow, that bow connection is quite weak. So if I put it on this one, it's at least kind of, there's a bit of it's staying on there. But on the original one, I've had issues where it wasn't quite catching. But there you go. That's all of the gear, all geared up. He looks amazing. I do like the figure. Is it significantly different enough? I don't think so. I don't think it's significantly different enough for them to have done this. I think they needed to make this one far more different, the original one they were brought out in the classified series, to make the retro one, make more sense. Maybe even giving him t-shirt sleeves on the retro one to match the figure, the original vintage figure. But again, like you can see, it's effectively, it just looks like you've got, this one's got a hood and this one doesn't from a glance. It's only when you get really close up that you see the slightly different skin tone difference, some of the deco applications, and obviously this one has the hood piece and this one doesn't. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Storm Shadow. I think in like I said, in kind of like a summary, I would suggest that if they wanted to do this retro style Storm Shadow redeco, slightly different kind of vibe, I would definitely have made the original Storm Shadow they brought out far more different. I don't know, the kind of the difficulty with that is that in that moment in time, they were coming off the back of the Arctic Storm Shadow, which was a completely radical new look for Storm Shadow, and they were going backwards a little bit to kind of retroize this particular Storm Shadow. So I get that, I understand it, but I feel like you get in a position then when if you want to do a Storm Shadow retro card, it's really just the card back that's the selling point. And when the artwork isn't as on point, I'm not quite 100% sure if it's worth it a lot of the time. In this case, I don't think the Storm Shadow is like significant enough to be like, a necessity. I think if you're a completist, fair enough. And everything else about it, other than like I mentioned, the elbows, which seems to have been an issue with a lot of figures in recent times, the elbows being a different color to the skin tone on the arms, and of course the eye tampo application is a little bit off there, in my opinion. It's not as good as the original one, and if you've got a figure that's already almost identical, it's got to at least be at that point. Now that said, I do like the fact that we've got the different arm, kind of the wrist gauntlets, the wrap-ins, I should say, and the bare hands. And I like the kind of crisp, clean white. But then, of course, you've got that kind of throws it off with the wrap-ins. But again, there's a little break, so it kind of it makes sense to do that. And the figure is dope, and obviously it's Storm Shadow, so you're in for a winner there from the off. But that's what I would say. I think what they should have done, in my personal opinion, my personal opinion, they probably should have done a little bit of a mixture, getting the hood on the figure and just doing the digital camo deco. Maybe utilize, what bodies have they got to use in the ninjas? The blue ninjas, maybe, red and blue ninjas, they're the same. And maybe the other Storm Shadow. We've got him here. Let's have a look. Maybe it could have been a simple kind of scenario. See, I've got this one as well. I've got the Arctic Storm Shadow with me too, just in case we wanted to run some comparisons again. Maybe they could have redecoed this one and given it new legs so that it had all of the articulation that the new guys have, because the lower legs are obviously an absolute nightmare on this figure, unfortunately, and it really does take away from what is a phenomenal figure. I love all the updates. I love the design. I think it's a fantastic homage as well to the Ninja Force Storm Shadow with the deco. But if they could change the legs, maybe give them a different secondary around the waist and give it the digital camo deco, just saying, that could have been pretty dope. Do you know what I mean? That would have been a nice retro figure, considering we've already technically got a retro Storm Shadow. Do you know what I mean? In the classified series. Again, a little bit of a kind of minor gripe, but that's what I would say. And obviously, this is the figure we're looking at today, not the other two. But I wanted to get some comparisons going on. And it's nice to see, it's nice to see that we're getting some Storm Shadow build up in the line. Obviously, I do have the movie one as well, and I was going to bring that with me, but it was actually more so the position that it was on my shelf. I couldn't be bothered to get at it this morning because it was in the way that it was kind of like positioned inside, like in the back of a lot of other figures. It would have been a nightmare to take out. So, I'm glad that we've got we've got 4 now Storm Shadows. I don't think I'm forgetting any other Storm Shadows, but it's good to have, a few more options. And obviously people can pick and choose a little bit if they want to. And it's still a dope figure. So there you go. Anyway, that's Storm Shadow. We've also got Zartan to look at today, have we not? And I've realized I've fallen way behind on the comments. So let's catch up with that. Right. Future. Yeah, I love how they drew in the articulation. Isn't that just the most bonkers thing on the artwork? I don't understand why the knee articulation, because they're not knee pads, and why the chest cut had to be in there. I just don't understand that. And I don't think it's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, we have to kind of show a true representation of the action figure. Well, then do what you're doing at the moment with the action figure, kind of like portrait or painting of it. Sorry, I'm not going to bother putting these in. I mean, you know what they look like. They're right there. But those are also part of the figure. So yeah, I don't get that at all. Tac says, Chris, what other characters would you like to see on Classified Retro card? For me, it's Duke and Scarlet. Well, Tac, looks like we're getting those, isn't it? Because those leaked listings certainly have kind of been hinting towards Duke and Scarlet getting the retro treatment. So I wouldn't be surprised, buddy, if we get Duke, Scarlet, and Cobra Commander in the retro lineup. I know we've got Cobra Commander coming in the His Tank, of course, the retro card, but I believe we're probably going to see, regular logo version of that. What I want to see in the retro card, though, is exactly what I just mentioned about Storm Shadow. I think a version 2 on retro card would have been phenomenal. I think it would have been awesome. And they've probably got the parts to do that. And if they're going to do new tooling anyway, which they've done in a few little aspects, then surely they could do new tooling for a torso for a version 2 Storm Shadow. I think it would have been cool, honestly. And I don't think it's off the cards. I think it'll happen at some point. I just don't know when. And I kind of think the retro card series is probably a great opportunity for it. And if we get another, well, like we say, we've seen listings for retro figures, 3 of them. I imagine that we'll probably see more going forward. Don't know what capacity. Maybe Hasbro Pulse exclusive. Maybe just standard release. Across like kind of fan channel, that kind of thing. But it probably won't be Walmart because now Walmart have Night Force. So, but anyway, Tac. Yeah, I would probably say the version 2 Storm Shadow. And who else do I want to see? Good shout. Who would be great for a retro card? See, I want to see other retro card designs. I don't want it to just always be, we call it the Hexagorido, but obviously lots of artists worked on this particular card back style. And obviously, shout out to Hector Garrido, who it was the anniversary of his passing this just week gone, wasn't it? So yeah, an amazing artist who basically brought, gave us so much imagination into these amazing toys, and filled our like brains with these incredible characters. So massive thank you to Hector Greedo. But I would like to see other card back designs like we see in Marvel Legends, like we see in Black Series to a degree. But with Marvel Legends, they'll do like the Spider-Man back cards, or the Toy Biz, the different Toy Biz ones that are all over the place in terms of designs. I'd love to see Ninja Force. I'd love to see Ninja Force Zartan. I'd love to see Ninja Force Snake Eyes, in actual fact. Yes, obviously, I know it's the usuals, but it would be great to see those kind of characters on different design card backs. Sonic Fighters, repaint Sonic Fighters. So get Falcon a new head, repaint him in his pajamas, digital pajamas, and give us the Sonic Fighters card back. That would be phenomenal. Rock and roll, and get dial tone out there in a way that allows us to have like a pre-paint in that sense. But that's what I would love to see. Tac. If you're asking what I'd love to see on this card back, I think I'm satiated. I think I've had enough with because it's going to be like 25th art, and I kind of want them to do closer to more vintage style. And I know that's not easy. It's easy to say, not easy to do. But there are plenty of artists that could crush it out there with that. Adam Riches is one. He just did one for Night Force Ripcord. There's one just off the top of my head, and that is a stunning vintage callback card art kind of job that he did from scratch, and painted it as well in the same style. So it's phenomenal work. Future Fortress, I'm forever fighting those plastic inserts. S7 Ultimate Backpack is really wedged in there. I'm gonna have to. That's my next unboxing. Is the Super 7 Wave 1. Getting there eventually. Ugh, it's taking ages. I'll find out for myself though. Future Fortress. Grant says, if weapons are bent, I recommend putting in some hot water, then putting a heavy object on it to straighten it out. Good shout. Something I've done in the past as well, Grant. Thank you very much for that. Is the Shuriken hand a new piece? I believe it is. I know there's the Snake Eyes Shuriken hand, isn't there? But that's a gloved hand, and it's got gloved details. So I don't know if this might be brand new, but based like retooled off that one. Let us know in the comments if that's been used before. I don't know. It might have been. I don't think it has though. It might be brand new, Grant. Thank you for that. Future says, yeah, there was an eye comparison pick on his tank. I think that retro one has wonky eyes for sure, definitely, yeah. And yeah, the new factory needs to level up a bit, big time, Future. I agree with that on so many levels, because, again, we're kind of spoiled a little bit because we've been getting such quality figures and with such quality decos and all of that stuff. It's all sensational quality. But then as soon as you get something that's slightly off, it's noticeable. And it makes a massive difference, yeah. Ed says, as with most of the retros, you've got to mix and match with the retail version to cobble a perfect figure. You kind of do. I think, yeah, to kind of get like the one that really represents that original, yeah, it kind of is the case, isn't it? Because we've got so many updates here and not updates there, and then a kind of all callback here, and then finally a retro card, but doesn't kind of cover... Yeah, so there's some funny things going on there. Would have been nice to get a retro and then a Real American Hero version too. Yeah, would have been great, wouldn't it? Super Science says, how you think version 2 Storm Shadow is going to look like, same as vintage or modern camo like Firefly? That's a very good point. I'd like to see them, really push it on a retro card, give them the original silly digital camo, and then maybe for another release repaint down the road. If they're going to do like a remodel, rebuild, remold, if they're going to do like try and get it closer to the detailing on it, because the detailing on the Storm Shadow version 2 is completely different. The pouches at the bottom, you've got the kind of the way that the gi kind of lies. There's obviously you're gonna have rope to go with him. That I think would be cool to do, like they've done with Shipwreck. There's a lot of things they could do with that Storm Shadow. So therefore, if they do like just a brand new mold, and then you've got the opportunity to re-release it, you could do it in the standard line with, like you say, with the kind of modern camo, and then you could do it as a retro release with the kind of more basic digital camo. I think that would be kind of fun. I'd take 2 of those bad boys. I'm a version 2 Storm Shadow for life, man. Like I love that design. Oh, good shout, Supped on 3. Kind of want to paint in blue and make a Ninja Gaiden figure. That would be so dope. That would be so dope. In that blue color. Yeah, that would be sick. I'm into that. Good shout. Ed says, I think I'll repaint the retail SS to match the deco of the 97. Repaint some Ninja Force flair on the original design. That's another good shout. 97's pretty cool, isn't it? That deco. Outback finally has Outback. Good on you. You finished, right? No, obviously not. Morning, Jeremy. We need more Storm Shadow versions, definitely. Zartan, let's get to Zartan. Yes, good idea. Grant says, I'd like to see that new classified Storm Shadow repaint into Ninja Coup and Ninja Viper. Yes, black and teal. Yes, that would be fantastic. In actual fact, I'd like to see them do Ninja Coup, but actually make the skin tone dark, like a black skin tone, because I kind of feel like they missed the point of that particular 25th one when they made it Storm Shadow Ninja Coup. It's like, make it a new character, make it exactly like the original with the darker skin tone, and boom, you've got. I think Ninja Coup would be way more accepted in that sense as a repaint. Ninja Viper, 100% teal it up, make it an army builder, make it a 3-pack, and again, different skin tones, different ethnicities. That'd be amazing. Yeah, great, Craig. No need to pull out the movie Storm Shadow. We've all seen them every day, every time we've gone into Target. Yeah, Satan as well. Yeah, I think the red ninja repaint of this one is also something that probably should happen. Maybe they could do a 3-pack of red, teal, and Ninja Coup. That would be pretty dope, actually, wouldn't it? Kind of like a shout out to the 3-pack South American homage would be sensational. That's a good shout. Kamakura would be a good upper body mold. Science Super Saiyan. Yeah, let's go for it. Let's go with that. It's already there. Grant says, with recent news from Paramount, my pitch for a new film is to focus on a small team, Duke, Snake Eyes, Scarlet, Roadblock, etc., sent to stop a Cobra-related mission in some country to foil some plan. That's a very vague plot right there, isn't it, Grant? But I'm feeling it. I wanted to do something. What would I like to see? I just want to see a good, well-written film that covers some bases, but at the same time doesn't like rely on itself being G.I. Joe. Is just a well-written, and people have talked about the Cobra, Costa Gage Cobra comic with kind of Chuckles. That would be brilliant. If it was Chuckles infiltrating the Cobra organization, it would really make it nice and clean and narrow the kind of character ensemble you have to throw in there. But it doesn't necessarily mean you couldn't have loads of other characters that he kind of comes into contact with. Obviously, a lot of Cobra characters could be into that, but Chuckles being the main character, I think would be really fun. You could have you could throw Jinx in there as an undercover agent, who's also, obviously a superb martial artist. And then you've got kind of like the Rawhides kind of connection with Chuckles and Jinx. There's I don't know. There's just so much there's so many different angles you could come at it, but each angle would be fun and would be interesting and would be good. It's just a matter of the writing. It's all like, if you make it corny, I'm sorry, I'm out. Like, as soon as if it's corny, but it's not aware of its like fun corniness, there's a problem. If it's trying to be cool and it's just coming off corny, which I feel like is what's happened a few times, then that's where the problem lies for me. Pensive says, I don't collect based on the art on packaging. I don't care. I want every Joe they make. That's cool, man. That's totally cool. I'm there with you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have it in hand, would I? Yeah, let's. I know I've missed a lot of comments, loads, and I really appreciate it, guys. Keep them coming in. Let's get to Zartan now because we are technically halfway through of an hour's show that I kind of planned. I was going to say like an hour. I've got to record the monthly with Justin and Pat after this, so let's get stuck in. So Zartan, here's the artwork. Again, I believe that is pretty much the most recent modern Zartan card art, kind of rejigged to kind of get the deco and the kind of textures and design in. They've avoided doing the articulation on this one. Thank you. Obviously, you've got like knee pads and stuff, but you don't have like knee articulation in there, which is great. They didn't throw the chest cut in there that is obviously on the figure, but not on the card, though it kind of sort of almost is. They've tried, but they haven't technically done it. But you can see the line there, like going up. You can see the line, but it's not, they're trying to make it more of a muscle than an articulation point. So yeah, a little bit better, honestly. I prefer that artwork on that one. Flip it around. We've got the file card and the cross cell, of course. And this one's a little bit bent on the top there. Can you see that? Thanks, Nick and Mass. I'm just kidding. It happens, and it was actually packed really well. Had both of these figures and then all of the other classified figures, and it was all kind of tucked in there nice. So this was obviously in transit to them, not transit to me. So I feel it's fine. I'm not that fussed, he says, making a massive deal of it. So I'm just going to cut the tape on the flap on the back, as you can see, like that. So it makes it easier to kind of raise it on the edge. On this one, you can actually see a little bit of a kind of like a condensation running through it. Can you see that on the plastic? So obviously it's not as secure as the other one, but it's still not coming off. It might actually just be glue holding that down rather than condensation. It is actually on there hard. So it's not even, I thought it was like condensation and it was like, going to easily come off. Nope. I've made just as big a pig's ear of this as I did with Storm Shadow. You'll be happy to know. There we go. Yeah. And you're lucky I said pig's ear because I usually say something else. Right. Legal Gumph. No one cares. Slide this out of here and let's get into Zartan. We've got the figure stand. Gloss black Cobra figure stand, just like Storm Shadow. Actually, it's slightly different. It's not gloss, it's matte. Well, it's not as glossy, I should say. It's not as glossy in real life. When I put it up to the light, it kind of shows very glossy. Oh, no, maybe not. Maybe not. You can see there, like, this is glossy, and this is definitely not as glossy. So they are different. That is interesting. Is it, though? Is it, though? Is it interesting, McLeod? As interesting goes. Card back. Secure and safe. Throws in a pile of crap over there. Yeah, keep the comments coming in. Sorry, guys. I apologize. Yo just jumped in. Yojo Jerk just jumped in. How are the eyes on that retro Storm Shadow? The eyes on mine look way off. They're the same. They weren't way off. They're just a little bit wonky. I'll show you, Yojo Jerk. There you go. They don't look like they've been well executed, do they? But anyway, it looks like there's better eyes on Zartan. But let's go through his accessories first. We have the backpack with a little bit of that silver detail in there on the exterior. You've got the pegs on the sides, and then if we prise it apart, it's in two pieces. And we've got kind of like the 3D printer and the space for where the mask gets made. I did like that description by Lenny when Zartan first came out. We actually interviewed them and they took us through all that. We've got the Paddy Lennon face mask. Shout out to Paddy Lennon. And that fits snug as a bug in there, like so. Like you just 3D printed Paddy Lennon's face. That's one of the Kickstarter stretch goals on their next book. And that goes in there nicely. Lovely stuff. We've got his Simon cowl. Yeah, see what I did there? And it's got like the detailing on it, you know, the kind of like textured detailing on the cowl. There you go. And we've also got a pistol. There's his pistol with a little hook on the end of the handle there. And we have got his knife. That ain't a knife. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is a knife, mate. 100% that is a knife. Very cool with that little kind of little loop there for your finger. Little holes in the blade. Go faster holes. Very cool. I like that knife. And then we have Zartan. Not like super stacked with accessories. And we will obviously be seeing the other Zartans in comparison. Now, let's just get him in this mode, straight out of the box. Good movement in the limbs and the body. Yeah, again, I never have issues. Other than Serpentor, I never have issues with figures out of the box, classified ones. They're always really good straight out the gate. The knees are always like a good solid kind of feeling, but they're not like, you know, you're never going to move them. Serpentor was the only one where I had to give it heat for like a minute and a half, like he needed heat like constantly. The deco on this is actually really nice. I love that deco. Obviously, we'll get a good close-up of the old head. Actually, maybe they're not that great. What's happened there is the eyes are in the right place, but the eye makeup is on the wonk. Yeah, it's over to one side, definitely, isn't it? You can see that quite clearly. So yeah, that does make it a little bit odd looking, doesn't it? When you look at it, it looks a little bit goofy. And funny enough, the eye makeup is in the right place. No, sorry, the green eye tampos are in the right place, or the green eye application is in the right place. But the actual black makeup is just off center, and it makes for a very disturbing face shape now. That is weird, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, obviously that is something I will be asking or talking to the Hasbro team about. Are some of the kind of quality issues in some of the because we've gone from like deco applications of perfection, in my opinion, to some real weird placement on some stuff, and it does seem to be across the board a lot of the time, doesn't it? It's not like oh, like, you know, one of the figures has dodgy eyes. It's like, no, it's like most people's have them. Zartan, I didn't know it was you. Sarana. Yeah, I'll get his backpack in place and get all his gear on for you. Slots in there. Now, I've always had an issue with Zartan's backpack. It's never stayed in very strongly. This one seems to be staying there for the time being, but we shall see. Cowl goes on. I mean, it looks much better when the cowl's on, obviously. The old neckerchief on there as well. Now, he does look pretty dope. Don't get me wrong, looks cool. But when you get a bit close up to the eyes, it's like, where's your eye makeup going, buddy? Who put that on? Again, I love the detail. I love the new deco on the chest plate. I love that blue. It's really nice. And on the thigh plates as well. Really sexy. So again, nice Zartan redeco here. Let's get some comparisons going on, shall we, guys? I've got a bag of Zartans down here. Bag of Zartans. I didn't know it was you. Right, so we've got standard issue, Mogadishu Zartan with pistol, which popped off the backpack. Funny story about my backpack. It came with a broken peg on the original Zartan. So this is the OG that came out way back in the day. And let's compare the two. As you can see, markedly different in the deco department here. But obviously the same build, same accessories and stuff. The only difference is it doesn't come with the monkey's paw or the snake head, which again, I love those as additions to this updated Zartan. But everything else is the same, I believe. Same gauntlet, same shoulder pieces, same secondary, same hood, same neckerchief. The belts are the same. and the legs are the same. So yeah, it's the same figure completely. There's no new tooling here. It's just a redeco of the original, and obviously you lose a few of the bits and bobs. Now, this is the original Zartan. This is what I was talking about. The little peg was broken, so the peg on that side obviously goes a lot further out, but the peg on that side has got that kind of sheared off kind of breakage. And I know it wasn't me because there was no other piece found. And when I saw it looked a bit weird in the plastic. So as I pulled it out, I'm like, oh, that's missing a thing. And I thought, well, maybe it's flicked out and landed on me or something. Checked everywhere. No, it was just in the package like that. I didn't bother asking for anything new because you can still fit the weapon on there. And it's a little bit less obvious, the peg going out too far. That's what I'm doing there. But yeah, that's irrelevant to what we're doing today. This is what we're looking at today. So if we look at the deco application of the makeup here, you can see it's way better. Like, it's not like exactly perfect. It's better. It's much better. This one is, like I said, is way off, and it really does throw you a little bit. It's like the one on the left eye, his left eye is fine, but the one on the other side, on the right, is just so out of place that it just throws everything off a little bit. So that's a shame, isn't it? The belt is glued in place, Jeremy. Yeah, on the back. Is the retro gun? Yes, just like the original. It's kind of like solidified. So the back piece, the front kind of is a bit wibbly. Obviously, the back is glued in place. Yes. So did your original Zartan Future Fortress? Interesting. Maybe that was a factory mishap then, because yeah, it just always seemed weird to me that it was sheared off, or it just looked like it was. It might have just been it might have not got enough plastic there. Who knows? But anyway, I've got a better backpack now. Looking at the backpacks, obviously you've got that detail as well on the new retro one. So they've added that deco detail that isn't there on the original. And I will just check the paddy masks. They're probably exactly the same. But I do have both paddy masks in backpacks. I like to, when I display my figures, I like to give them as much of their gear as possible. If they've got multiple hands, that's obviously tough. But when they have all their gear, I like to give it as much as possible. So yeah, as you can see, it's the same. However, different skin tones. So this one here, the new retro one, is like a more pinky kind of flesh tone, whereas this one's more of a tan. So yes, we've got different decos on that as well. That's actually quite nice. In actual fact, that's something I didn't notice on the actual Zartan figures, is the difference in the skin tone. So it matches the skin tone of the Zartan, basically. So again, you're getting something different with this Zartan, which is, it's nice, but at the same time, is it different enough, guys? What do you think? I'm going to go out ahead and say I think the deco is enough. However, you may have brought one of these. Sorry, I've got another situation going on here, haven't I? Wow, how did I get all this to stay on? I'm clearly I didn't, because I'm putting the backpack back on. But we have got, yeah, that's just not wanting to play ball now, is it? Maybe it's because, yeah, that's better. Okay, it's playing ball. Master of Disguise Zartan, which he's holding this mask as well, because I wanted, like I said, if they can hold as much of the gear as possible, then great. Obviously, some of the things he can't hold because he's got so many different things with this Master of Disguise Zartan. But I've put the kind of like skull mask on him. Obviously, he's got his cowl, and then he's got all of the gear. The backpack with the longer peg, or the backpack is pegged into this quiver, and the quiver is pegged into his back. Isn't that bonkers? And then the sniper rifle is on there too, and the bow is in his hand. Just bonkers. So let's do a quick comparison of these two, because if we've got different, we've got similar shades for the material on the hoods and the neckerchiefs and the pants, but it's not exactly the same, I don't think. No, it's a little darker on the new one. It's a little brighter on the disguise one. Obviously, completely different deco on the secondaries and the thigh pieces and everything. and the boots have got like the little like more grey kind of on the Master of Disguise. No, on the retro. There's grey on the retro one, and the Master of Disguise one has got the black. So that's interesting as well. But yeah, man, so many Zartans. The thing with this is, when I want different versions of Zartan, I want different versions of Zartan. Do you know what I'm saying? So I would say, like, you know, like the Master of Disguise one is freaking amazing, and he comes with so much gear. Like the packaging's dope, and all the face masks he comes with. That's the Soft Master. And who have I got in the backpack? It's probably Paddy again, isn't it? Is it Paddy? What are the bets? What are your bets? Put them in the comments and we'll see. Is it Paddy or is it a different one? I'll wait for the names. I'll wait for you to put names in there before I twist it around. Who have I got in the back? It's pretty. I mean, if you know me, you know it's probably just an OCD thing. No one's saying anything. Everyone's gone quiet now. Everyone's gone quiet. What face mask? Soft, hard, or Paddy? Flaccid. Soft, hard, or Paddy? Jeremy says Blind Master. I'm not saying anything until someone else says anything. One more guess from somebody, and I'll swing it round. I have obviously he's holding Soft there. You think Blind. Who have I got in his backpack, do you think? Soft question mark says Future. No, it's Paddy. I've gone for the 3 Paddies. Now, obviously, that is also a different skin tone. So it's also a different skin tone for Paddy. So there's 3 different skin tone Paddies out there. Isn't that brilliant? I know it's not really Paddy Lennon, but we joke that it is. What I should have done is pop this in the freezer beforehand to get it all that blue color. I have actually done that, and this one does turn blue superbly. I love it. I do. Again, I love that we've got some homage in the classified line to the color change. Yeah, it's not UV, but it's not like that doesn't, you know, I'm not that fussed about that, because I could just imagine, you know, having that on the shelf during the day and it just be all the time. I like that you got a bit more kind of like control over what the deco could be or not on the skin on that one. Anyway, that's the Master of Disguise. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the retro one. I will say I do love the deco on this, very much so. I think if you look at the other 2, the first Zartan is very like monotone. I mean, there are different colors in there, but it's all very the same thing. And then obviously the Master of Disguise is like silly premium deco stuff all over the place. This one, I do love the kind of almost like comic Sunbow-ish kind of like call out, to just to give it a little bit more, you know, a little bit more color and a little bit more depth and a little bit more difference. So I do appreciate the deco change on this one far more than effectively what is just a much whiter, brighter white of Storm Shadows. Anyway, that is Storm Shadow and Zartan retro carded figure unboxing. And that's pretty much it for today, guys. Thank you for joining me. But before we go, we'll do that kind of like warm down thing first. I don't want to just kind of leave you cold and then bounce. There might be other things we want to talk about. So let's transition a little bit, and I'll see you back with my name banner. There you go, name back. So this is what we've been looking at today. Obviously, Storm Shadow Retro Classified and Zartan Retro Classified. I will say overall, I am always going to be impressed with classified figures and always going to be excited to open them, play with them, and display them, always. Even if they're like, you know, a minor repaint, shall we say. But there are definitely considerations that I want to make clear to you guys. Obviously, with Storm Shadow, there's this is in kind of like summary really for both of them. The kind of eye application is so weird, too wide and too kind of far apart, and not as good as the original, which I say the original, the third release of Storm Shadow after Arctic in the movie figure. It's a much better I mean, that's solid and dope and looks mean and awesome. This one looks a little bit goofy with the eyes, unfortunately. It's a shame. Obviously, we've got the comparisons, the different like the different decos, the whites and the reds basically are switched around. It's an all white, kind of much brighter white with the tan straps. Whereas you've got different gauntlets on this one and bare hands, different skin tone as well, technically. So there's aspects that are different. Different like the foot deco on as well, like the all white on the shoes. So that's effectively what this Snake Eyes is. Is it worth it? That depends on if you're a Storm Shadow collector, obviously probably is. To be a completist, yes. Is it worth it if you're kind of in a pick and choosing mode? I would probably, from a personal perspective, if I was in a picking and choosing Storm Shadow mode, like if I was like, I want a Storm Shadow, I want one that best represents the character, yada, 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 I'd probably go for the previous classified release one, aka this one. This is probably the one I think is the best one. It's got like some nice updates to it. It's still got some great callbacks, and it still represents the character from that vintage era to a degree. This one goes a bit further, but it doesn't nail some of the points that are already nailed on that one. And that for me is kind of like that's not, it's kind of not acceptable. Do you know what I mean? Like the eyes you want, if you're going to have, it's the same figure effectively. So why is it not the same apart from the different parts of it? The different parts of it, the wrist gauntlets, the bare hands, some new parts in the bare hand attachments, like the ninja star, throwing ninja star hand. And I think this fist as well. So like, they've thrown new tooling in there, but, and to make it kind of like, is it worth it? But at the same time, I think that other Storm Shadow does more, and it has the hood, and it has, but it doesn't have the hands. So that would be up to you at the end of the day. And like I think Ed said on here, you kind of have to get like a couple of them and then mix and match them a little bit to get the best one. But that's what I'd say about this Storm Shadow. It's still a gorgeous figure, but at the end of the day, if those minor discrepancies bother you, I would go with that previous classified. Now, as for Zartan, I think the more significant repaint definitely makes it worth picking up. Definitely makes it worth picking up. If you're into Zartan, and if you want multiple Zartans, etc., etc. If you're picking and choosing, I think the Master of Disguise is my favorite because it's just got loads of cool stuff with it. And that's kind of me in a nutshell. It's like, if it's shinier and it's got more cool stuff, then that's what you go with. But this as a version is pretty dope and is a nice, like kind of repaint of the original. Now, discrepancies, however, only one that I can really see. If you're going to get really into it, the elbows again. We've still got the elbow issue. It's a different color to the other skin tone. It's not, it doesn't bother me that much, honestly, but I know it bothers some people. And if it does bother you, then forget it. Now, the eye makeup, the eyes themselves are in the right position. The eye makeup is not, and that makes such a big difference on the face to the point where you're just like, oh, it's significant for me. So I would suggest that if I was getting a retro Zartan, now they're on bubble cards and you can see through the cards, so you can see what kind of version you get. You see what kind of deco you're getting. So at least there's that. If you wanted to pick and choose, you can make sure you get like a decent eye one, if one exists, that is. So yeah, I think what was mentioned earlier, like the factory, the new factory kind of situation has definitely caused some issues in quality in terms of deco application and in terms of certain it's deco still, but it's like plastic choice for different parts as well. And considering they've nailed it in every other aspect of the classified series so far, it's weird that we get to this point where they've changed factories and they're just maybe it's the case they have to catch up and they have to get the quality up a little bit more, and that's something that we'll see in the future going forward, hopefully. But it's definitely something that's affected quite a few figures. Recondo and Bazooka, the Tiger Force figures, they had the elbow situation. The new Bazooka has that elbow situation. What else? There's other stuff, but you know what I mean? Like, for the most part, the classified figures are still very, very good. Like, this figure is still a superb figure in 99% of the other areas that we're talking about. The articulation, the posability, the other deco applications everywhere else, the accessories, the fun features, the design, everything else is so far up there in terms of quality that it's a shame that some of those aspects do knock it down a bit. Anyway, that is really it for these two beauties. Still had fun with you guys, despite some of those little issues that we discussed, because that is the thing. Like, I'm bagging on those little elements, but I think it's worth saying in the summary. And if you are picking and choosing certain figures, then that's definitely something to take into consideration. And if you're not, then just enjoy them like I am gonna. I'm still gonna enjoy these bad boys. Anyway, and they are bad boys because they're both Cobra, aren't they, at the moment? Cobra and Freelance, but still on the bad team. Right, that's it for me. And guys, thank you so much for all the comments and everything. President Zartan, says Rachel Salinas, as a version. That's actually pretty dope. I think, yeah, she's like, obviously Ninja Force Zartan, right? 100%. 100% Ninja Force Zartan all day long. What are the versions? I think that is a massive shout. Now, as much as the movies are a bit bone, right? They're a bit rubbish. I think in the like when they do like Marvel Cinematic Universe figures, and they'll do like a character that's in one. I'd love a RZA as the Blind Master. I'd love a President Zartan, but done as like a Rise of Cobra throwback for like a Rise of Cobra anniversary or something. Because as much as the movie I wasn't a great fan of, there's aspects of it that are really good. The toy line, for example, the 4-inch toy line for the Rise of Cobra is freaking awesome. So many new developments in technology were happening around that time. So they were going through, like, 25th had started and was improving, and going into Rise of Cobra, improvements were made. Some 25th stuff was kept, but they kept doing that. But yeah, I'd love a President Zartan, Rachel. I'd love with multiple heads, so you could have what's his name? It's Vosloo. So you could have Vosloo's likeness, and you could have, and I forget the actor who played the blooming president in that, but he was great as well. He was really good in that role. But I'd love that. That would be so cool if they could get the likeness for those two characters for that particular figure in the president, in the suit. That would be so cool. So cool. And it would be, technically it would be both Rise of Cobra and Retaliation, wouldn't it? But I would love that. Maybe if, for another anniversary for those, that would be so cool. Jonathan Price. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul Galliano. Jonathan Price is the name of that actor. And he's great. Paul says, this has been very informative. Thank you. The figures are cool, but as someone who was on the fence about these, this makes a difference. No worries, Paul. Glad I could help. I will say, though, eye deco aside, the retro Storm Shadow is pretty gorgeous. And, like with the kind of like the difference here and the different decos and all that kind of stuff, and the fact that he's like very much all white, it is a very cool figure. It's really just the eye application. If you could get the old classified one and stick the other head on it, you might be in business. Obviously, it'd be a slightly different color, but it might work with the fact that his straps are that kind of color as well. I should just do it, shouldn't I, on here? But I also want to finish this episode. It wouldn't be that far off. But maybe you could do that, a little bit of mix and match, or you could put the black head from the Arctic Mission one on there, which is also sensational, and make it really cool, different, and awesome. Anyway, but thank you anyway, Paul, for that, and I appreciate the nice words on that one. Rachel, you are speaking my language. when he slices his face with the knife, I watched it recently. I watched it the other night because I'd never seen the Retaliation. I'd never seen the full, that special version that came out that had like all of the what do you call it? Extra scenes kind of added in. I'd never seen it in full. So I watched that the other night, and that bit where he does that and it goes, yeah, that would be so dope, Rachel. I'd love to see a head sculpt like that. Already getting Future's asking if I can put the Master of Disguise Zartan on it. The head from Master of Disguise Zartan. The head I've got for Master of Disguise Zartan, though, is the one with the, or is that just a mask? I can't remember. Oh, it's just a mask. I'm an idiot. I thought that was a head sculpt. Yeah, let's do it for Future. For you, mate. Just for you. Well, for everybody, but seeing as you asked. Boink. Now, this could be an issue because obviously some of the head balls are different, aren't they? So I'm just going to just bear with me 2 seconds while the head on the retro one comes off very easily. So that's a good omen. It's not the best, is it? Because it's very different coloring, very different coloration. I think it might make more sense to put the other head, the first Zartan, on it because that is a closer approximation skin tone wise. My God, you should see what it looks like over here. It's like a Zartan bat factory going on in front of me right now. Right, so let's try that head on here. The problem is, yeah, it's actually closer to the Master of Disguise Zartan head and doesn't go on as comfortably. I think the neck ball might be slightly different for that Zartan. I've got it on as much as I can for now, just to show you the difference in color. It's a little, it's too different, isn't it? It's not as different. It's not as different as the Master of Disguise one, but it's enough. It's enough to make me go, nah, mate. Now I don't know if I've got the right cowl. No, I haven't. Or have I? No, I have. They are slightly different colored, the cowls, as well. So it's in, and you have to kind of match it up with the. Oh no, what have I done? I don't know what cowl goes with which one. No, I do. That was Master's. That was getting very upsetting for me right then. I was like, oh no, I've ruined my life. But no, it's very simple, mate. You just have to look at some reference photos or something. It's not that hard. Yeah, so that's really what happens with that. Are people asking me for other things? This is going to get really annoying, isn't it? I'm just kidding. Do you know if you'll get an Outback survival hat? What do you mean, like a hat with survival on it? That'd be dope. Or do you mean just like a version like 3 or 4 Battle Core Outback? Is that what you're saying, Outback Stu? Let me know specifically, because I'd love a hat. I want to get like a hat that's got survival on it, like a G.I. Joe branded one. That would be so dope. And maybe one with the cat on it with like the tiger stripes on the. Why have I not designed this and sent it to Hasbro and said, make these hats, please? Oh, and a Night Force one with like green and then gray and then survival. It'd be so good. So good. Matt Crosset has asked about Storm Shadow. Okay, it's happening then, Matt. We'll do this. We'll do Storm Shadow as well. So the head pops off. It's a good pop off. It's not like really hard. It's not really it's not really easy. So that's the first thing to say. Let's remove this. Now we're doing Storm Shadow classified, like the first Storm, not the first one, but the second version. And I'm going to pop that on here and just see what happens. It's not bad, actually. It is a different color, but it's not bad. And obviously it's better. There you go. I've just made the perfect Storm Shadow, guys. I've made the perfect Storm Shadow. There we go. Done. Job's a jobbing. And then I can just give him all the other things that he doesn't have, like the hood. There you go. It's just done, isn't it? It's done and dusted and covered in mustard. That retro figure works perfectly. I do now that we've been talking about it, I do, and I have to put them back on normal heads. Sorry, guys. It's my OCD. Like I can't like leave it like that for a while. I apologize. That is an element of obsessive compulsive disorder. It's not crazy, but it is something I like to do. I should have put the hood on first, McLeod. Doesn't matter. I'll do that later to save time. This is the last thing I'll do, and then we'll call it a day. Chris just won the Storm Shadow Build-A-Figure contest. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, maybe the Arctic Mission one doesn't come off as easy. I would need heat for that. No, it came off eventually. That was on there. That was on there. So, oh, that is not bad. That looks kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. I kind of like it with the black hat thing on. Isn't that sweet? Oh, I like that. It kind of like, you could have like Storm Shadow and then a bunch of different like Storm Shadows with different like, you know, black heads on to make them like his Storm Shadow team. Also, you may have noticed that Arctic Storm Shadow is carrying all of his gear because I wrapped the rope around to catch, you know, the hook and the other arrow. Everything's on there, so it's pretty dope. Okay then. Right, we shall call it a day there, I think. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks very much for joining me. As always, you expect loads more content to come. We've got the Hasbro interview next week, probably around Tuesday or Wednesday time. And then we've got, obviously, the weekly tomorrow. We've got more unboxings with the Super 7 stuff. I've got an Intel Live to do at some point. I'm so busy. Anyway, to all our patrons as well, I've got an Intel episode dropping later tonight, hopefully, if all goes well. But we'll see. Right then, that's it for today. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, guys, for joining on, as always. I will speak to you. Oh, the monthly's happening in an hour as well. Wow. I'll see you guys on the next one. As always, after 3, 1, 2, 3, full force. See you later. That's it for this installment of the Full Force News Burst. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time, and as always, full force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on Twitter at The Full Force, liking the Facebook page facebook.com/The Full Force, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on either of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.